Okay, we're going to talk about printing, a quick overview and introduction to printing. So I'm going to use Loxley Road as an example. So first of all, remember that we're going to print whatever we see in the view. So we've got a different view here. So we would see whatever display appearances, filters, table, etc. is set in that view. And we can also set it so that if you leave the divider on a column, it will include that column, but it will exclude everything to the right hand side. But that's a setting. So, so having said that, we go to the File Print option. There is a direct shortcut from the shortcut menu. But what we need to understand are the options that we have essentially in print options, because at the moment it's set to print everything on an A3 sheet. So we need to go to print options and understand this dialog. So there are 4 tabs. So the first one is pretty standard in anything to do with Windows. You choose your printer from the list of available printers that you have. I have a PDF writer as a standard printer, so I can create an output from that. And you've got a page selection, so we can do everything that we see. And later on we'll talk about you can select certain rows and only print those, or you can print certain pages and you can create a number of copies. The details tab you probably do have to go to occasionally, and that is the surround, the border, which has got your logo and all of this stuff, is something that we've set up and we've embedded it in the file, so it travels around with the file. We're not going into how you edit that and change it, but what is really important that you will need to use is the date range. So we can set a date range and we can restrict how much we print out. So we can have a starting date and an ending date. It's like taking a pair of scissors and cutting it down the screen. So if we said we don't want to see anything after the 1st of January 21, then I can see that in the preview, and that's what you'll get on a piece of paper. So everything that ends after that has been chopped out. And of course, we've got all these empty lines because it's still printing the whole thing. It's just taken the whole image and taken a pair of scissors down it. So you could have it from, just a little bit of progress up to, what's coming ahead. So really, the other thing then is how do we restrict what you see in the rows? So let's understand those views some more. So I'm going to get rid of that for now. And this is where you've chosen your printer, but you also choose your page size. So if you've got a big plotter at the office, then you could print the whole thing on a nice big scale at A1 or A0 or something, and the orientation. So that's good. So scaling is really another thing that there's a lot of features here because people make huge outputs with Power Project and it's been tested to destruction. But the most common one is that we fit it to a single page, that single page being an A3 landscape sheet. The alternative is that we can say, well, I want to have vertically, if I say true size, this is what you'll get with the settings in the how many millimeters for each row of the bar chart, and as you can see, it's going to be on 7 pages of A3. So you could say that you only want to print pages 1 to 3. And that's what you'll get. So, you've got all of those sort of options. Beyond that, you could say that you want a certain number of rows per page. So I want to fit on there, let's say I can comfortably read 50 rows per page. So how many bits of paper would that get us on, and do we want to print them all out? Okay, so that 50 gets us to 3 pages, which could be seen as adequate. Do we need to print the whole thing? That's another question. Before we move on to that, let's just have a look at some, and I'm going to return to fit it to one page, by the way. So we're also going to look at the appearance. There is a tab called appearance, and we can do a number of things, and the one thing that I did talk about was in the spreadsheet is if this is ticked, visible columns only when you go into the print. If you've got the divider between the table and the bar chart, if it's touching a column, that will be printed, but everything to the right will not. If you want everything to print all the time, regardless of where the divider is, you can untick that. And the other thing you can, which is included by standard, is the code library, the color coding system. So if you didn't want that, or I can show you how to put it on every page. So let's just return to seeing it all on screen. So that's hot one page, and you can see at the bottom here, if I zoom in by clicking, or even we've got a very small legend of what's happening with and we can draw a rubber box and see what's going on there. So that's our color coding, and that is being controlled by the appearance legend. So if that's ticked, that will appear. If that's unticked, that will not appear. And you can show it at the bottom on the last page, or you can show it on all pages. So if you have multiple pages, but this seems to be the setting that works. So I want to just show you perhaps a better way of approaching it, and that is selecting which rows to print and also having a filter set up that will address your needs. So if we go back to the diagram, if I say, well, I want to have I just want to have those rows there, I want to skip those, so I'm going to do a control click so I can select a number. So it's control click on the line number to select a row that's not adjacent, control click to do it from the first to the last. Standard Windows behavior. If I go to the print again, at the moment it's showing me everything, but in print options, if I choose selection, then it's only going to print those things that I've chosen that I want to display. But of course, that's a sort of temporary measure. And what we might want to do is have a more sort of controllable, permanent measure. So I tend to not muck around with the view that I'm editing in mainly, and I've created one view that I've called for printing. And so what this is exactly the same as before, and you could choose which code library you displayed. So you said, I don't want to display that one, then you'll see the reporting stage, or you can unselect the reporting stage. So all of that you can change, but the important thing about it is this has got a filter, and what it's got is saying only print which particular rows of the bar chart to print, and it's got to be in sequence. So the first condition is that we print anything that's greater than or equal to row 4, because I was just going to, this is only for the plots. And the second condition is that we print everything that's less than 40. So we're taking from row 4 to row 40. So you could adjust these numbers and choose how much to print out at a particular time. And you could even get it to ask you every time you run it, but that could get a bit annoying. So where that information is coming from is behind the scenes. I've put a column in which is also allows us to sort, but it's saying what is the order of build. So So you can see it starts, this is just numeric from row 1 all the way down, because our row numbers or whatever get displayed in the bar chart. So having, and that number's there all the time. You could change it, but I would advise you not to. And then this filter. So if I don't have a filter, I see everything. If I run the filter, print row print range, then I've only got those things. So as the job progressed, I would start to omit things that we've done and bring in things that we've done later. So with that in view, if I go to I can go directly from the quick quick launch button here, and then I want to preview that. So I'm just getting the things that I want. That's perfect. It's going a bit too far into the future, so let's restrict it to, so this is the full preview screen, and you can get back to print settings with that second button from the left. So let's restrict it to a date range. So let's again say we don't want anything after the 1st of January 21, and I think this is a good combination. So we're not looking too far in the future. We could even slice off some of the history. So we could even say, I don't want anything before the 1st of January. So we're looking at a year basically there. And that would be great. That would be really legible, and it would be relevant, and it's omitting what we don't want to omit. And remember that you can always edit the filter to change the number of rows, the row numbers that it's looking at. So that concludes the printing overview.